Welcome to OnePlus Talks episode 3, and here we have Roberto walking us through the processes of industrial design. And
nice to meet you.
Let's start it by introducing who are you?
Hello, I'm Roberto Ruffoni. I'm a member of the Industrial Design Center at OnePlus, and I am a background originally in design research, but through the years I also developed more expertise into the industrial design, and I'm happy to be here to tell you more about how we design our products.
Yeah, and so Roberto, is working on projects in OnePlus, and but before we get to that, can you walk us through how do you get into industrial design?
In terms of industrial design, let's say my original background, as I said before, is more like in the user research and design research. However, during my career, I've always been working together with industrial designers, UX researchers, UX designers. So let's say across multiple disciplines, I'm really a believer in the idea that design nowadays should be cross-disciplinary. And luckily, OnePlus, it seems that people are of the same idea, so that we need to cross disciplines. And that's why I started working together with the industrial design team here, and I try to bring more of an international perspective, bringing the knowledge from, for example, European design and the international users into our design process, so that we can design products that fit the lifestyle of users across the world.
Oh, definitely. And you've met some of our users back in Barcelona.
In Barcelona at
While
MWC.
we were in the bus, on the way, there was a super coincidence.
That was quite nice.
There was one of the crazy moments I had in OnePlus.
Yeah.
By the way, you can say hi to them again,
hello,
Noé,
everyone.
Gerard.
Jose, yeah. Remember, that
Tor,
was amazing.
And Otto, our 5 users.
Yeah,
Otto,
your 5 users.
The 5 users in the bus.
Yeah. Good.
But no, now we get to the fun part, which I think users are very looking forward to. Mm-hmm. How early on does industrial design start working on projects at OnePlus?
I think it really depends on the type of products. Let's say it can go anywhere from 2 years to 4 or 5 years. It really depends on the complexity of the product and the number of changes you have, on the feedback that you receive, and also on really the type of platform and the type of concept you're pursuing. So it's difficult to give a specific time frame, but what we can say is that it takes as long as it is needed. If a product needs to stay in the oven a bit more, it will stay a bit more. It is really important, as we mentioned multiple times, to achieve perfection, to achieve the best possible results that can bring value to the user. So we can take long time. It seems very fast, the process, because you see the products coming out.
Yeah, I mean, we're living in the world of tech, where
very quickly, but it's then never rushed. Let's say that the design process can last multiple years.
So there's no one-size-fits-all solution to things.
Yeah.
Okay. It just depends. Yeah. And which brings me to the next question. How does the industrial design team decide on the direction of a design?
We look at multiple point of views. Obviously, when you design a product, you need to take into considerations things like design trends that can be across multiple industries. Like, for example, you may look at what is happening in the world of furniture, what is happening in the world of fashion, what is happening in the world of car design, what is happening in the electronic industry. So there are multiple industries where we look what is happening in terms of aesthetic trends, in terms of which color, which materials, which type of shapes are coming up. But then on the other side, we need to look at what our users are asking for. So, for example, which type of camera, which kind of size, how much battery. There are so many factors that influence our design. That's the whole world of the user experience, of the GUI. So you really need to bring together the perspective from these multiple fields and from like the requirements that may come, for example, from the marketing, that can come, for example, from the industrial designers themselves with what they want to do, which can come from the user testing. Sometimes what you make may actually not be as well received as you imagine. So you really need to go through these multiple cycles to get to the final result when you're sure that what you are doing
it sounds like a very tedious process.
No, it's not tedious at all. It's very fun.
It's fun.
No, definitely it's very fun.
I'm not a very process-oriented person, so it's fun.
No, it's fun because you try to do your best and you try to get to the point where you know what you're designing is the right thing. So, and if in particular, like a person like me, you're passionate about knowledge and understanding, it is a fun process because you constantly discover new things.
Yes. Okay. That makes sense. But from this, from what you just described, it sounds like there's a lot of room for disagreements between different stakeholders.
I wouldn't call them disagreements. I would call them more like different point of views and a creative exchange. Let's say, obviously, in a design team, different designers may want to do different things, may go for different directions, but it's a cross-pollination of ideas. So each one enriches the other. This kind of exchange brings us to make the best. You never go for the first idea. You need to pitch them against.
Unless it's a really good idea.
But how do you know that? You really need to ask around, and you will also need to bring in multiple opinions. Yeah. So it's not only the designer. You also need to talk with the product manager, you need to talk with the marketing, and you need to show it, as I say, to the users and the different territories. So obviously, a design that you may work really well, for example, in China, may not work as well in Europe, or a designer that works really well in Europe may not work as well in China. So there is a whole process of trying to understand what can be global design, how can we create products that can work for users across the world, for example.
Yeah, that makes sense because sometimes I see a CMF like in the market, and then I feel, this is a color that's going to work very well for XYZ market, but not for the other market.
Yeah, I think the word of CMF is a bit different because in that case you can, let's say, allow a bit more of customization across market. But when you're looking at the final design of the product, in that case, you have much stronger constraints.
Okay. Speaking about CMFs, what are these over here?
We brought you some samples here and here to see some of the development process and some of the unused samples for the development of like OnePlus 9 and 10 and some of the new special edition product here.
Wow.
Yep, so which one do you want to start
I'm sure some of the users are going to, just do whatever it takes to get their hands on these.
Really? Do you find people are very curious about this stuff?
Yeah, but
nice.
Word of advice, keep it don't let the users know where you are physically. They'll come and hunt you.
Nice.
Yeah. But anyways, can you walk me through how the CMF is developed on a...
Start maybe from the oldest one, from a OnePlus 9 and 10? Okay, so you can see here, for example, some of the directions that we were looking at for 9 and 10. And you may recognize something that looks familiar in the final product and something that look new. So the process is normally about developing multiple options and testing them, not only internally to find what is most consistent to the strategy and the kind of overall message we want for the product, but also what people prefer or what may be required, for example, in different markets. So, and sometimes we may want to go for a direction, but we are not satisfied yet with it. So, which means that that can be maybe paused. We may go for something that we know is the right thing at the moment, and then brought back later in other products. So, for example, when you look at some of the samples that were developed across for 9 and 10, that They were not used directly, but with further development, they can go on following products. So let's say it's never a straightforward process where you can say, this is it at this time. It's about continuously trying to improve, continuously develop until the moment when you found the right balance.
Oh, so Roberto, after you put things in this perspective, you got me wondering, like, these two look very similar, like the OnePlus 11.
Well, we can't say like this is directly coming from here, because you can see this is, for example, as some of the slight gradient that comes from the OnePlus 9 that was more typical of the OnePlus 9, but we can say that, for example, some directions we start looking for a product may not go in that product and then be further developed for the next one when they fit better than design stories. So let's say that the design process is never so straightforward. It's a continuous process of improvement, continuous process of testing to get to the final solution that works best. At the same time, even though this can sound like a process where there are many moving parts, it's not necessarily chaotic. It means that there is a clear idea of where we want to go and how we want to develop the identity over the years. So, for example, when you think about the OnePlus 9 that had that kind of very squared window for the camera, and the OnePlus 10 that that had still like a square but went on to the corner, and now the OnePlus 10 where that kind of square element has become like a round element. So there is a very strong thinking of the direction or how to evolve the design identity.
Could you walk me through the aspects that are factored in when we're having a final design of the OnePlus device?
In terms of factors that come in, it's as I was mentioning before, it's very important to be able to get a consensus and listen to everyone involved within not only the company but also outside the company, our users, and being able to understand which kind of design will resonate most with our users, and also how the design can fit to all the requirements. For example, I can't name the specific product, but very recently there was a product we developed that went through more than 40 very big stages with complete redesigns. And in that case, it was really because that was a constant feed of information coming either from the marketing or from the user research or from the new materials that were developed, new processes that we wanted to integrate, or, for example, trying to change our camera module to a bigger one, this kind of thing. So let's say there are many moving parts within this process. We may know where we want to get, but the process in itself may require you to have a certain flexibility in order to be able to achieve the best possible result.
I think I know which device you're talking about. No. Yeah, and so ultimately, these are some of the designs that never saw the light of day. So what happens to them? I know you mentioned that sometimes you keep it and use it for like future products.
Yeah, as you know, both Oppo and OnePlus are really trailblazing in the development of, for example, of CMF, a new material on the way to treat the surfacing and the aesthetics of our products. So, as I was saying before, it's not nice to say what happens to them after. I think nothing really ever completely dies. It's a learning process and it's a further development process, and it's about understanding how certain solutions that were not picked at the right time can be improved, and they can keep being developed to get to a level where they can really create this wow factor. Like, for example, what we are seeing here, this took so much time.
Sometimes it seems to me like it's a mix and match situation. You pick materials, colors, and the cost to making these devices. But is it that simple? Like, is it a mix and match?
No, it's definitely not a mix and match thing. No, mix and match, I think it makes the process sound too simplistic.
Okay.
It's not something like that. There are very high standards of quality that have to be respected, and then there is our own design ethos and our own design sensibility. So we will never put on the market a product that is just a mix and match because it's requested to be like that. It needs to satisfy multiple levels. So it's quite strict from this point of view.
That's very insightful because I have never really gone deep into that process. Yeah. But I think this leads us to.
Okay.
What was this
Nice.
called? What's this OnePlus 11 called?
Jupiter stone.
So it's from Jupiter?
Definitely. Yeah, we go and pick it on Jupiter. Yeah, and then we have a spaceship that goes there, gets the rock. And
We're
bring it
barely
here.
going into Mars, and then now we're going to Jupiter. Never
Yeah,
shadow
planets
guys.
and space are definitely a
Yeah.
strong inspiration lately. Space travel, definitely.
But I think this device is actually called it's called the Marble Odyssey.
Marble Odyssey.
OnePlus 11 Marble
Yep.
Odyssey.
Okay.
And you, what material is this actually?
Oh, this is actually stone.
What?
And you can see these are two different versions, different stages of development. This one was a bit lighter and going more for a marble look, while this version, as you can see, is more similar to the final product. So what is really interesting about this product is that each of them is different. So each of them is unique. There is no single device that is like the other. That's why the process is based on slicing, creating very thin slices of the stone that then are transformed into the back cover with the hardening agent that can shape them and with then obviously the forming, the machining, and all the other processes around that, it's made into the final shape. But what is really interesting is that it's not the traditional method, and it's let's say something a bit more. I wouldn't say maybe artisanal, but surely it has a value that is not often found in industrial products, which are the definition of an industrial product is a product that is produced in series and each product is identical to the other. No? So in this case, the challenge was to be able to create a product which would feel consistent. So you will recognize that it's the same,
I can tell,
but at the same time unique. So each of them is unique, but it's consistent enough to be recognizable as the same product and the same family.
So no two same of these devices will be identical?
No, because the stone, it's a three-dimensional material, you know. It has its own veins, it has its own material, its own element, and if you take a break, let's say a break of that stone, and then you slice it, every single slice, a bit like of a slice of ham, will be different from the others. You will you will get a different part of the vein, a different part of the color. So
different gradients, different patterns.
Exactly. So each of them will be different from the other.
It feels like it's living.
Yeah, definitely, it's alive. That's why it's a very new direction, which I find very exciting.
Okay.
And you can see here some tests we did for this type of material and how we were trying to come out with a real nature of the stone and try to make it really shine. So because it's possible to work with the stone material and at the same time with the coating and the hardening gel on it, it's possible to create different type of surface effects. And as I was mentioning before, it's a learning process, it's a process of continuous experimentation. So you can see like some very early tests where the texturing was so strong that it was difficult, for example, to see the material behind this, and then progressively trying to get to the final result and find to something that would really get where we wanted to get in terms of finishing for this product.
Yeah, this texture is very, very strong. It just
Yeah,
takes
you
away
can
all the attention.
Yeah, you can say that these were normal tests, but without doing those tests at the beginning, you will not learn, you will not get to the final point where you're really satisfied. But it's really about when you try to look at the idea of stone and you want to create a product which has the features of stone, but at the same time, you want to explore what is possible with this new material. It's not a material that is often used in electronics.
Stone.
Yeah, you really need to try and test where are the possibilities, and that's how our designers, our CMF team, which is amazing, really constantly tries to push the boundary and do new things.
Okay. That's it from episode 3 of OnePlus Talks. Thank you, Roberto.
Thank you.
Thank you. You're gonna be famous now.
Goodbye. Oh my God.